Hello and welcome back to Learn Energy Healing. Seeing as I just did a video talking about the sorts of energies you are feeling and maybe working on as you're working through my series of lessons, I thought I'd do a quick video about energy cysts because I think it's a very useful analogy to understand and to explain to people too. So what do I mean by an energy cyst? Well, a lot of people understand what a cyst is, a physical cyst. So, and if you don't, I'll briefly explain, of course. So a cyst in the physical body is where you've had a toxin or a bacteria or a fungus maybe, some sort of infection in the body, some sort of problem in the body. And your body couldn't deal with it there and then. There wasn't enough resources, maybe you didn't have enough energy, maybe you were also stressed emotionally or physically, maybe you were fighting off another infection somewhere else in the body, or maybe that particular toxin or bacteria was just simply too much for your immune system, even if you were really healthy. You just didn't have the resources to deal with that particular problem straight away. So what does the body do? It encapsulates it. So it starts to build a membrane around the problem area so that it's contained. And that's what a cyst is. So if you've ever popped open a cyst or watched any of the programs on TV, like Pimple Popper, for example, you may see lots of cysts there. And it's basically just a membrane sac that contains the problem. And then within that sac, you will usually have a yellowy, disgusting looking goo, like a whitehead spot, because that's where all the cells are and all of the immune system cells trying to fight and destroy the problem. So that's basically a physical cyst. Similarly, that happens in the aura as well, the human energy field. So for example, if you have a really traumatic emotional experience, say someone shouts at you, screams at you, and that's really traumatic for you, it's like a big shock to your system, you're unable to digest and process the emotions coming from the other person and coming up within you. It's just too much. You're overwhelmed. You cannot process those emotions, digest them there and then. So similarly, your emotional density of the aura, and remember, it's just a model. There's not really different densities. They're just markers us humans have put in. But if you are unable to deal with that emotional energy straight away, there and then again, you package it, you contain it, you put a membrane around it, an energetic membrane this time, around the emotional energy to contain it, so that it doesn't continue to overwhelm you and take over you and control your life. So you tend to encapsulate it. And this is what we call an energy cyst. And in this particular example, an emotional energy cyst. And sometimes we've packaged it away so much that sometimes we forget about it. We forget it's there because we have no access to that strong emotion that's been packaged away. But at the same time, of course, just like a physical cyst can press on things and interrupt blood flow and lymphatic fluid flow and so on, an energy cyst in the emotional layer can, interrupt and get in the way of emotional energy flowing by. But even in those circumstances, some people don't necessarily notice anything in their emotions. They're not aware of the emotional energy cyst until it's brought up another time in their life. So quite often when we do energy healing, sometimes we do come across this. Sometimes we come across an energy cyst because it's already coming up in someone's life to be healed. Maybe they've done a lot of meditation or done a lot of work on their relationships with people in their lives, or relationships with those who have passed over or other beings, whatever it may be. And they've raised their vibration in some way or another. And so this energy cyst is coming to the surface because the aura has enough energy now. It has enough resources to start to deal with this problem that was hidden away before, encapsulated before. And so sometimes when someone comes in, they're already exposing it. It's already coming free. It's already coming loose. So you may come across something there. And depending on how much has already been released, how much has already come to the surface, it may feel really dense if they haven't dealt with everything yet, or it may be less dense. Maybe it's a bit sticky and gooey. It all depends on how much they've already released. And of course, you can help release that. Depending on the situation, depending on how much they believe in your healing work, how much you believe in your healing work, depending on the circumstances of that particular day, you might find that you can pick up, for example, with that particular energy technique where you can pick things up, you may be able to pick up the whole cyst and remove the whole thing entirely. That might be possible. If you and the person you're working on tend to believe that things take time, then maybe you can only remove a little bit of it. Or maybe you might get the sense that the outer shell of that cyst has weakened a little bit so that energy's starting to flow into it more to heal it. There's many different perceptions or senses you can have of it, depending on the circumstances, depending on your beliefs, but you might find something like that happening. Sometimes, particularly if it takes time for it to come out, or if there's a lot of resistance to the energy cyst being removed, which usually there is, because an energy cyst usually is something that's been so traumatic, so shocking, that it's quite a big deal for a lot of people. So for a lot of people, it can be quite a strong session when you are working on an energy cyst. If it's emotional, lots of emotions may come to the surface. You might find that the person you're working on may cry, or they may yell or scream. Maybe their body tenses up because it's affecting the physical body a lot. You might feel that their body's lifting off the table as you are pulling this thing out. So all sorts of different things can happen when you are working on a cyst. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this particular video about cysts, because you may well have already come across them possibly and been freaked out by how the person on your table has been reacting to you. You may be looking at the videos I've done with my wife and wondering why my sessions are so calm compared to the others, and wondering what's going on. So if someone has such a strong reaction like that, lots of emotions, maybe shouting, lots of physical strange things happening, it may well be you are working on an energy cyst, something that's very strong, very deep. And so me explaining this can helpfully put you at ease, help you understand that actually it's okay, help you explain things to the person you're working on so they're not so freaked out about it. A lot of people who are working on a strong trauma and therefore a cyst coming out, a lot of people may already know about it and be quite comfortable with it. But hopefully me explaining this can help you explain things to them and have more ease with working on an energy cyst. And of course, the reason why my wife was so calm and nothing really big happened was because, we haven't worked on anything very deep in front of the camera. Just very light energies, light stagnant energies, that kind of thing. So that's why nothing crazy has really been happening. There are, of course, people who, when you work on something very deep, they don't yell or have any strong emotional outburst. Sometimes it can be due to conditioning, that they're trying to not come across as crazy. They just calm themselves, shut themselves up, and you can still heal them that way. But usually it can be quite a strong, noisy experience if that happens. I explained about emotional energy cysts, but of course you can have energy cysts on any level. You could have a mental energy cyst. So if it wasn't an emotional trauma, and maybe it was much more of a mental trauma, maybe it really shocked your mind. Maybe you were overwhelmed mentally. You couldn't think straight in that particular traumatic moment. So going back to someone shouting at you strongly, judging you, blaming you maybe. It may be some people have more of an emotional reaction depending on their beliefs and their previous experiences. It may be that they have more of a mental reaction, maybe both. So it very much depends on the situation, how you might respond and which part of you is more traumatized than another. But it could be in that experience that it was more a mental trauma. You know, you were overwhelmed mentally. You couldn't think of what to say. You didn't have anything to respond to that. Or maybe what they were saying you agree with and you severely judged yourself for it. And you have all sorts of thoughts running around in your mind, you know, and you couldn't cope. Or it was a shock and there is no thoughts, you know, it completely stopped your mind dead. Poof, a really big shock. So in that case, it may well be that you developed a mental cyst because you couldn't deal with it in that moment. You didn't have the resources to deal with it. Again, you energetically encapsulated that mental energy and created a mental cyst, which again, you may be aware of through your life, or maybe you've completely forgotten it because you've shut it off so much and got on with your life. And again, it may be quite a strong experience having that removed. And again, it may be removed in one go. It may be removed over many, many sessions. And just like the emotional cyst, it may, when someone comes in and asks you to work on a particular limitation or belief, they may not know that there's a cyst there, and they may know that there's a cyst there. Either or. And it could well be that you need to work on many other different things to get them to a state where they are willing or able to allow healing on that particular cyst. And of course, you can get cysts on all the other levels too. You can get astral cysts, you can get cysts on the catheric body, catheric template, and so on and so on and so on. So cysts can exist in many, many densities. But you get the idea from my examples of the emotional and mental cysts, I hope, at least. So I hope that's given you some understanding of what an energetic cyst is, why they are there, how and why they might come up, and what might happen when they come up. And hopefully that gives you more ease with working with that particular thing on someone and helping them have more ease with it too. Okay, if there's any questions about energy cysts, please do leave in the comments, but I know most people don't seem to leave comments. Email me, of course, if you would like help with cysts or have a session with them. More than happy to help you with that. And again, if you find these videos helpful for you and you would like to support me, then please do like and subscribe. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.